Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. It probably won't be a long meeting, but I did just want to give some information about a new, well, it's not exactly new, but a grant opportunity for educators. So I have the flyer up, and I'm going to put the link in the chat in case you don't have it handy or don't have it anymore and want to open it yourself. And so this grant is sponsored by South Dakota EPSCoR, which I think most of you are familiar with, that it is an organization, I guess, funded by the National Science Foundation that really is to help further research in scientific research in South Dakota. And there are also broader impacts such as education and outreach, of which this is a part. So they sponsor workshops and as well as scientists doing the research. The other partner in this grant is South Dakota Biotech, and it is a group of member industries that are STEM industries in South Dakota that has historically sponsored this grant. Actually, they had in the last year for sure, I'm not sure how far back it goes, were $500 grants for education and outreach. And as South Dakota EPSCoR has matched that now to be providing grants for up to $1,000 for this round. So the purpose of these is really to connect industry and the career opportunities and workforce with K-12 students. And so to give like enriched classroom experiences or even community outreach that would be targeted to students in K-12, but that would be activities in the classroom that would kind of inform and connect them to some of the industries and research that's going on in South Dakota in STEM fields. So the grant or the flyer has the steps 1, 2, 3, and so an informational meeting just because to answer any questions that you might have, and then think about some companies that might be in your area, whether they are members of South Dakota Biotech or not. And I'm going to put that. I'm going to stop sharing this one, and I'm going to put the link to the list of members. It's also on that flyer. There's a QR code, but I'll put this in the chat as well. So there are this gives you some examples of various companies that could be a connection to your STEM classroom. I'll share this one. Okay. So when you get to that member page, there's just a list of the different companies with a little bit about what they do, links directly to them so that you could see where they're located, if there's anyone, any that might be in your area, or even that could be connected remotely. So there's a lot of member companies. So something that you would do if you intend to go forward and apply for the grant is to identify some industry partner from this list, or even one that you know of, any industry that's doing STEM work in your community. And think about the connection to the classroom. Is there a field trip that you might want to take to that company? Is there a follow-up lab that you might be able to do in the classroom that's connected to the work of the company that you might need supplies for? Anything like that. And so you think about that connection to your curriculum. And then the stronger applications do have a more direct connection. So you might be able to reach someone in the company and talk to them, or have them speak to your class, or visit or virtually or in person, talk about the work, and then you'd be thinking about what you might be able to do that you would appreciate funding for in terms of a follow-up activity. So just an example, there are a few examples that have been successful in previous years, but if there was maybe a wastewater treatment plant that you were interested in connecting with or visiting, and then you wanted to do some more sophisticated water testing in the classroom, and that would give you the funds to be able to purchase supplies that you would need. There's one on the poster that has connecting to helmet safety, and the teacher purchased some special gelatin materials to have students create models of the brain connected to that. So it's really pretty open as far as what you might want to do. When I was speaking with the representative from that's on the board of South Dakota Biotech, she said really the stronger applications are those that have that direct connection to industry or some STEM company in the community. And other than that, there are really not a lot of limitations. Again, their goal is to have students more interested in STEM careers, know something about opportunities that are in their own communities, and really try to connect educators with those and their students with those opportunities. So those are kind of the parameters, but really they're open. And if you had specific questions or you got started on the application, which isn't too onerous, it's a Google form, and I'm going to put that one also in the chat. And that just asks for kind of your plan. What company or industry might you be connecting with? What that might look like in the classroom, what supplies you would need, budget, and then you would just complete that through the Google form. Those are due September 15th, and the members of South Dakota Biotech, especially the board, has also offers to make connections for prospective applicants. So if you wanted to oh, this company, this looks really interesting, I'd like my students to know more about this, but I don't even know anybody there, I don't really want to make a cold call to just to the industry, and but they can help make a personal connection, because these are companies that really do want to increase their outreach efforts, and that's why they're sponsoring these grants. Welcome, Stephanie. I'll probably catch you up a little bit at the end. Haven't missed the very beginning, but I will put some links in the chat, and that so that everyone has them, and then if anyone else has questions. So there's the information flyer that kind of gives the overview of the purpose. There was a teacher that I met with in another session that was thinking of connecting with an industry in the Black Hills that was doing solar panel construction, and really thinking about what she might do in her high school science classes, as far as some lab work on connected to solar panels, and it was thinking about connecting with someone from that company and finding out a little bit more about what they do, maybe having someone from there talk to the students, and then do some follow-up work where it would be nice to have some supplies funded. So those are just some of the ideas that have come out. And then the form, and I can send all of these out. This is the actual application that would be due on September 15th. If you have something that you have already done in your classroom, but that you need replenishment supplies, or it's a field trip that you've gone on, but it's difficult to get a bus to, to take students to, those are the kinds of things that would qualify under this. Are there any specific questions that you might have about the process or ideas or things that you might be thinking about already and maybe don't, but if you have something.
So we would, it was looking at the form, said September 30th is when you'd be notified.
Yes.
So would we be planning something to do in like the spring, by the time we could get the funding, get the stuff ordered and get them to the school, or be something that we could plan like for next year? Or I was just wondering kind of.
Yeah, that is a great question, Kevin. Thank you for that. And I can send that out. I will ask how quickly they turn around the funds. That part I'm not exactly sure about. So that's a good question.
Just because I was thinking about a couple things, I was looking at some of the companies, and I was like, well, that'd be cool, but I teach that unit in January. And I was like, well, I teach that one, the one unit was like, well, I teach that in October. So I'm like, it's not going to work. But I was looking at the other companies and stuff. So
right. And then some of that, I can follow up with an email about I thought someone from there was going to be on this call, but something must have come up for those specific kind of questions, but to find out the turnaround on the funding so that you'll be notified, but yeah, it's actually being able to go through the process. I would think the January one would be relatively safe. October, maybe not so much.
Because I'm assuming they want like something back from like our experience and stuff too. And like, I'm gonna do it next year. Like it'll be,
and there's an option to attend. There is a South Dakota Biotech conference that is held in the fall, which would be next year, and that there's an option to. It's not required to attend and present, but a little write-up about how things went, yes, is part of that.
Awesome.
Good questions. Thank you. What other things might you be thinking about?
Is it written for disposable supplies or
it could be that's open. Yep, it can be consumable. So if you have even something that even an example that was given that somebody else asked was a surf kit, and now they don't charge for those, so that really isn't something that you'd need funding for, but maybe there are materials that because surf is actually a biotech partner, that maybe you want more supplies or to have yourself that would be something that you've borrowed in the past but that you would maybe like to have yourself, or you have something like an EPSCoR kit that you don't get the replenishment supplies, and so there might be something there, or you want more quantities of what was provided in an initial kit. So that could
does it have to be those, like if I needed like a hardware piece that like it was a detector or something, like is it excluding that? Because I know some grants have done like it won't buy a hardware thing that I could use in the future, but it'll just buy like something I could use one time.
No, I don't believe so. Again, I'll make sure that I double check the specifics, but I have not in any of the other questions that have been asked with the person that's actually evaluating them.
Okay. Certain grants have some really weird stipulations.
Yeah, I think this one is pretty open, other than that it's stronger with a stronger connection to a company, and that's something it's or some business, and it doesn't have to be a South Dakota Biotech member. That has been made clear that it could be anyone, just because some communities maybe don't have one of those companies right nearby.
Awesome.
So the stronger that connection with the industry or a future career for students, the stronger the application. Other questions might you have? I will follow up with answers to timeline, and then you'll have my email address if you don't have it. Stephanie and Jeremy, if you wouldn't, I'm not sure specifically that I have yours. If you put your email addresses in the chat, I just don't know off the top of my head how the message got to you, if it was from my mailing list or someone else's. So if I get your email, then the answers to any of these questions will be sent to everyone. Well, other than Stephanie, who I'll meet with for just a few extra minutes, if you don't have any, you can email me anytime with follow-up. If I don't know specifically, then I will find the answer and get back to you. Thank you, Jeremy. And please send it to your friends. If you know someone else or you have a teaching partner, I can always send, they would like, some indication of interest through an information session, but I can send the recording of this as well. So, and I'll be ending that right away.